whatever went on in the ranch, people have got to be outraged by the lack of consideration the authorities have shown you and your family, violating your constitutional rights, violating your right to due process of law. Congratulations on your historic victory. I'm so pleased to see you both here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bundy, Cliven, and Ryan. And I'm sorry, Laura and I are off mic, but this interview is going to be mostly about hearing from you gentlemen. Now, you've spent almost 2 years in jail. What can you tell us about that ordeal? You seem in remarkably good spirits despite that.
Well, I can tell you that I've spent 700 days in the federal prison system. I can tell you that every day was hard, but I was blessed every day. I learned something every day, and I was able to endure it. I can tell you freedom sure feels good to be out. You know, I'm really not mad at the federal government in one sense for all of the things they did, the abuses and the, misjudgment and all that. But I'm quite concerned. Let me make one more statement. You know, I feel like the federal government has no jurisdiction and authority over my matter, over the land that I ranch on. I don't believe they have any jurisdiction and authority. I don't believe they own the land in Clark County, Nevada. And I don't believe that they have any jurisdiction and authority because I have no contract with the federal government. So the court that we went through, I say they have no jurisdiction and authority. Well, who does have jurisdiction and authority, I guess, is the question. And so let's talk about who does have jurisdiction and authority. Well, it would have to be the state of Nevada would have to have some jurisdiction and authority over state of Nevada land. Clark County commissioners, they should have some jurisdiction and authority over Clark County. The county sheriff surely has some jurisdiction over the people of Clark County and the things that happen.
And we've heard so much about that sheriff. Of course, it's Sheriff Lombardo.
Yes, and this man has been nominated, elected, and paid by we the people of Clark County. I think he has jurisdiction and authority. I think he has the policing power. I think the Constitution gives him constitutional jurisdiction and authority over the state of Nevada. And the Bundy Ranch incident in 2014 was all about protesting their county sheriff. County sheriff, when are you going to protect our life, liberty, and property? That's your job.
And we heard a lot in the courtroom about the escalating sort of provocation that the Bureau of Land Management, the FBI, they had very sophisticated surveillance equipment on your property, they had snipers. It seems like they really were trying to provoke an incident. We've heard now about this kill list. How do you feel about that?
Ryan talked about the cameras a little bit.
Well, you know, I've learned a lot during these past 2 years in sitting in the jails about due process. You know, I was a strong believer and understood the Constitution quite a bit before, but being that I was placed into the process now where I'm in a situation where due process of law concerning those who are accused of crimes now was a personal situation. And so I started to pay attention to those much more and started to read and understand the Constitution much more. And I find it interesting that our founding fathers must have had a great concern about the rights of those who are accused of crimes.
Yes.
Because the first 10 amendments, which we know as the Bill of Rights, if you read down through there, half of them have to do with protecting the rights of those who are accused of crimes, which we know as due process. Okay? Now, it goes even a little bit further than that, but you know, the Fourth Amendment talks about the right of the people to be secure in their persons, papers, and effects of things, and that searches and seizures need to be done by warrant through I'll just read it, through oath or affirmation. They need to be particular describing the place and the person to be seized or the things to be seized. Okay, so when they just set up a camera and start filming our family, our home, their excuse was, it's set on public land and it's just pointing that direction. Yeah, directly at our home.
And it's a very secluded area where you guys home.
Yes, okay. So to me that's a gross violation of our security, to be secure in our own home. Mm-hmm. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Now that right belongs to all the people to have that security. Now I started to say that nearly half of these amendments have to do with with people who are accused of crimes. Now certainly that applies to people who are accused of crimes, but it also applies to all the people. There are other rights that apply to just those who are accused. Mm-hmm. I guess we'll get to those here in part of our discussion. But
well, I'll tell you, Ryan, the thing that I was most impressed with when I was in the courtroom there, I think you should be a lawyer. You performed exceptionally.
Well, thank you for the compliment. I don't know that I don't like this work. I do what I do, and I was in that position. I felt that I had to speak for myself, that I am myself. That's, I stated that I am sui juris, which means in my own self, my proper person. I was not allowing anyone to speak on my behalf or to act in my behalf. That's what an attorney is. An attorney assumes another man's identity for particular purposes, and I felt I could not allow that to happen. That there was things that I knew that couldn't be conveyed to another to speak on my behalf. I knew that I needed to be able to speak and to feel the Spirit of the Lord and to speak from that Spirit. I knew that could not be conveyed through an attorney, and I knew that my life was on the line. I knew that the government wanted me dead, either through a bullet of the gun or through a lifetime behind bars, and I could not put my trust in someone else to protect me. I had to do it. I just say that it's kind of like running a tiger into the corner. He's going to fight his way out. And so I don't necessarily like that work, but I did it because I had to. So.
It was amazing to behold, I have to say. And the other thing that was so amazing and inspiring is the support that you guys have had. People have come from all over the country.
Well, they relate to the problem. They relate to the pain. So many others have been through similar things.
You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording your message. If you're satisfied with the message, press 1
That's not for you.
to listen to your
Excuse me, guys. You got plenty of time.
I was just holding so that you didn't mess your recording up.
Okay. I'm sorry.
People relate because they have experienced similar things. Not necessarily, it's not that there's many people with cows or with whatever. It doesn't matter. The cows are not really part of it. It's that government is encroaching upon people's rights, and they feel the pressure and they feel the pain. And I think many of them want to stand, but they don't know how, or they don't have the courage, or they might not have the support. And so when we said no, we're not going to bow, we're not going to be crushed by this entity that is so huge and crushes so many people. Other people felt the same and come running in support. And the support has been amazing, and we're very, very thankful for them all. And we hope that they gain strength from this.
Every person in the United States should be very concerned about the case.
And when you talk about people being able to relate, the first thing I noticed today when I walked into this, the press conference was that both you and your father are carrying pocket constitutions, and you were able to defend yourself and fight for your freedom largely because of your, vast knowledge of the United States Constitution. But unfortunately, there's so many people in this country who really aren't aware of their rights. given to them in the Constitution. So, given your own experience dealing with this and the fact that you had to serve time in prison, what advice would you give the American people or other people who are, you know, going through similar ordeals that maybe don't know about their rights as much as both of you do?
Well, you know, our founders made a statement that, you know, you can't expect to be ignorant and free. If you do, you expect what never was and never will be. And so I think that's part of the problem. You know, we have largely become ignorant. We don't know the Constitution. We don't understand, you know, our founding principles of government and of freedom and of liberty. And so you can be brave and strong if you are confident. And that confidence comes from knowledge. That confidence comes from the Spirit of the Lord. And so you're not going to get that watching TV. You've got to sit down and read. You've got to study. And you've got to pray. And when you gain some confidence, then you can gain strength.
You know, on that subject of Constitution, I have thought this, you know, if I was the President of the United States, what could I do to help this country out? You know what I could do to help this country out is I would put a little chain on this Constitution and chain it to every court judge's pulpit. Change it to the pulpit, everyone across the United States. And then he might chain one to each one of the jurors' seats also. I think that would help America and maybe even the world more than anything I could think of to do.
So they could quickly refer to it.
In other words, when they start making these decisions and stuff they make, why don't they just look at the Constitution and see what the supreme law of the land says?
Were you shocked that this type of thing could happen in the United States of America?
I was shocked that the United States bureaucracy would have an army of, let's say, 200 armed, highly powered military type army that would stick their guns and point their guns at American people. That was shocking to me. And that was shocking that my county sheriff would allow that to happen. That was very shocking. Very dangerous. It was just a total blessing that somebody didn't get killed. And maybe a lot of people didn't get killed. Because the federal government intent was to kill.
Yeah.
And we had a county sheriff that was going to allow them to kill.
It's crazy. And do you feel like, I mean, you gentlemen have lost 2 years of your lives inside that prison. Do you think the company that owns, it used to be Corrections Corporation of America, I forget the name now, but are there any civil lawsuits that you plan to pursue in terms of remuneration for the time, the money, the expense to your families?
Let me talk to you. Whose fault is it? Is it the federal government's fault for coming and acting like they're going to, do all the abuses and everything, or is it our county sheriff on our state of Nevada that allowed them to, led them to do it?
Well, both. I mean, the court dismissed the case based on what they found to be federal misconduct. So I would say that both Sheriff Lombardo and the federal government.
Now, I want to back up. You asked about what was shocking a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was also shocked about that army that showed up. But once we were incarcerated, I was shocked to learn and see what I did concerning these due process violations. Okay? You just mentioned that we were incarcerated for 2 years. And yet, the Sixth Amendment, it states that in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy, I want to focus on that word, enjoy the right to a speedy trial.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of the rights that the accused has. I want to point out that up in the Fourth Amendment, it says the right of the people. The right of the people to be secure. Okay, so it's stating who has what right here. Okay, the right of the people. All the people have that right. But down here in the Sixth Amendment, it says, the accused shall enjoy this right. So this right does not belong to all the people. This is a right that only belongs to those who are accused of a crime. Now, this right doesn't belong to the people in general. It doesn't belong to the court. It doesn't belong to the prosecution. It doesn't belong to the judge. It doesn't belong to Congress. This right belongs to those who are accused, and it says it's therefore the accused's enjoyment to have a speedy trial.
And Ryan, what typically is the time frame that someone would wait to have a trial?
Okay, well, if this right belongs to the accused, then only the accused can decide. If you're going to accuse me and to take me to court, and I say we go to court today because I got other things to do tomorrow, then it better darn well be today, not 2 years down the road. Now, Congress has hijacked this right and claimed that it belongs to them, and they've defined it that we've got to be to trial within 70 days from the time we're arrested.
Okay, well, even 70, you guys had 700.
That's right. Okay, see, so then what they do is we'll make some exceptions to that. And then the judge hijacks that right, and she throws all the exceptions to the wind and just to heck with speedy trial, and we end up spending over 2 years. Now, there's the other thing that blows my mind, and this is what was shocking, is that yes, we spent 2 years, but I know of other men, another man we made friends with, Omar Kazi, and he's been there for 3 years, never been to trial. And I met another man, John Michael Edwards is his name, and he was there for 8 years.
No trial.
No trial. There's a lot of this going on. In other words, the due process violations that are happening is atrocious. The other thing that's taking place is that it's always been the common practice in America that a man is innocent until he can be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty. And until he's proven guilty, he's not subject to punishment nor to correction, because there's nothing to punish him or correct him for if he's not guilty. And yet these men are being thrown into prison for years without any determination of guilt, violating their right to speedy trial, violating their 8th Amendment right to bail. Okay? They're being treated as though they are guilty, and in fact the determination amongst the prisoners now is that no, we're guilty until we're proven innocent, which is upside down and opposite from what America's supposed to be. So your interview today is about due process violations. Well, they're rampant. And that was shocking to me because, I've heard it said that it's better to let 100 guilty men go free than it is to wrongfully imprison even one innocent man. And yet I know that in that jail over there, that they had more than 8 of us that I know were innocent, and yet they had us in prison for 2 years, and had that principle that you should let 100 guilty men go free rather than prison one innocent man. Well, that facility over there houses about 800. They should have let the whole jail go simply because of us. Okay? And yet they hold hundreds of men who are not guilty, and certainly haven't been proven guilty.
Now, in the court, and I'm not going to ask you guys to go into this, but we heard stories of abuses that the gentleman suffered.
Yes.
That was from the corrections officers.
And the marshals.
And the marshals. What was your interactions with the other people incarcerated there? I mean, you're speaking of people you befriended. It sounds like there were some decent people that you met there.
Yes. Yes, there's lots of decent people there. There's lots of people who I do not believe deserve to be there. I believe I heard story after story after story of these men talk about their trials or the process and how the prosecutors would lie and trump up the charges and embellish the stories and situations and hide evidence and produce evidence that didn't exist, that wasn't part of the case, and yet they say they do. Attribute evidence from one case to another case to get convictions.
Suppress evidence as they did in your
Yes,
case.
suppress evidence. Over and over again, I heard these stories, and people are being convicted on all these false premises. Okay, not only are their due process being violated, but they're being convicted on all of these false premises.
And that brings me to the next thing I want to discuss is this for-profit prison situation. It seems that financial motivation should not be tied to criminal justice in the United States.
Well, I believe that to be true. It shouldn't be. I can tell you a little bit about Core Civic in that one facility there at Pahrump. I don't know what their maximum capacity is, but I know that where their count level was hovering around 750, 800. And again, I don't 100% know the exact amount they were receiving, but somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 per man that is annually that is housed in their facility. You do the math on that, and they're bringing in about $30 million a year on just housing them. Then I understand that they also make more money on the transports back and forth, and I don't know how much involvement there is there. I understand that their gross income at that one facility alone is nearly $40 million. I did some rough calculations. I knew about how many employees they had. I tried to figure out the cost of the mills, trying to figure out what the operating expense of that facility is, and it's really small compared. So they're making huge profits. I don't know the truth, but I've heard that CCA is it's a corporation, it's a for-profit corporation, and that many of the investors are judges.
Dick Cheney is on the board of directors, was indicted for prison profiteering in Texas when it was Corrections Corporation of America. Thank you, Core Civic, that was the name I couldn't remember. Why not take civil action against what seems to be an extremely evil corporation?
Well, I don't know, why not?
They're certainly complicit in the conspiracy to wrongfully imprison you, gentlemen.
Well, there's a decision that we're going to need to make before many days. And this decision is, are we going to forgive and forget, or are we going to hold accountable all these aiders and bettors? And these facilities would be an aider and better, and there's a lot of aiders and bettors here. If you take the facility for one thing, you take the sheriff for one thing, you take the contract cowboy for one thing, the guy that's flying the helicopter shooting their cows is another thing. I mean, look at all aiders and bettors here. I mean, there's a lot of aiders and bettors. Are we going to go after them all and say, hey, you guys, we're going to sue you? I don't know. I don't know whether we want to do that or not. Or, do we want to do it in some kind of political way? I don't know.
I want to bring something else up there, because slavery in America is a touchy subject, okay? And we say that slavery in America was abolished. Would you not agree with that?
Well, that's what's said.
It's what's said. Okay. In fact, I want to turn to the 13th Amendment, and it says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction, except, okay, so now there's an exception, as punishment for crime whereof a party shall have been duly convicted. Okay, so slavery is legal in America when a person has been duly convicted of a crime. But I would say that what's going on with these prisons is slavery. It's slavery and it's slave trade. Especially, okay, and maybe it's legal when someone's duly convicted. But for those of us who were not duly convicted, we were being held over there involuntarily and being involuntarily forced into servitude.
Were you working in the prison?
Working has nothing to do with it.
Well, you were basically a product, and that prison was
That's
making
right.
money off of it.
They're making $40,000 off of me. Okay, I was there. They're making money off of me, and I was
Off
not.
of your pain.
That's right, and I was not able to serve my family and earn money for them. So that's involuntary servitude. That's slavery. For the last 2 years, I have been a slave, and they have made a profit off of my presence.
So then they should give you reparations, because this country, if you're, using the analogy of slavery, of course, people always talk about how the government and the people of America have to give reparations to, like individuals in the African American community, for example, who were slaves. But what about people who were wrongfully imprisoned, people who had to serve time, who were essentially products and slaves of the federal government?
I agree with that.
So when you talk about forgiving and forgetting, well, you probably should take legal action against them, because in your, own explanation of this, they would owe you reparations.
Well, I think the more important factor is we really need to shut this system down in the United States. It can't be allowed. And I understand where you're coming from. I know you guys are, as I said, I'm just amazed by your demeanor after the struggle that you've been through to be so positive and to be here, and you both look very healthy, I'm pleased to say. But, I don't think that this company deserves any forgiveness or to be forgotten, because they're just going to continue doing this to other people.
Well, and whether it's done through a private corporation or through, a government jail or facility, I don't think it makes much difference. Either one of them is placing us as slavery, and either one of them is making a profit on it. And it's simply wrong that they're doing this at all to the American people, and it's not just us. It's hundreds and thousands over this country. And even if a man is truly guilty of a crime, I believe that incarceration is not the proper answer for addressing this, reparation. If a man steals property from another man, and so you go put that guy in jail, how does that repay the man that was stolen from? It does nothing. Okay? This penal system does nothing for the victim. Nothing. Okay? But a system of reparation would. He should repair the damage. And when the damage is repaired, biblically, when someone does accidental damage, well, then he needs to repair 100%. But if he does intentional damage, then sometimes it's multiplied. He needs to replace it 2, 3, 4 times. Okay? That's his penalty, is double or triple reparation. Not incarceration. Incarceration does nothing for this guy. It doesn't help him improve. It might give him some time to think, but what does, a few months might take care of that issue. What does 20, 30 years do to a man? It just steals his life. This man who has done harm to another man should repair, and then both are healed. Okay? Gives him an opportunity to repent, to recognize his wrong and to change. But sitting in jail does nothing for him. It's a bad system.
Now, Ryan, I know the charges were dismissed with prejudice,
Yes.
meaning you guys can't be brought up on these charges again. Is there any danger that the government will pursue you under some other context?
From what I understand, when it's dismissed with prejudice, or they can't bring any other charges up related to that event. They can't create new charges out of that event. It's not just these charges. I can assume that we're in their target, and they might try to get us on something else and try to whatever, but that event is done.
Good to hear that. And so, gentlemen, what's next? Now that you're one day free, what do you plan to do?
Let me make one
Sure.
statement before we get there.
Yeah.
I want to make a statement about who puts courts shall hold their office during good behavior. What does good behavior mean? Good behavior, no, it's not vague. Good behavior, we're reading in the Constitution, good behavior is when the judge is in accordance with the United States Constitution, the supreme law of the land. And when she or he is not in accordance with it, then she must be, or he must be, in bad behavior. You know, we are taught that the federal judges have been appointed by Congress for lifetime appointments. That they're supposed to be paid during this time. No, they're not lifetime appointments, only when they're in good behavior. When they're not in good behavior, it's over with, they're out. And in my case, where we've got court orders, it wasn't in accordance with the Constitution. And I've got probably, I don't know, let's say 5 judges that signed the bottom of these court orders that have violated the Constitution many, many times. When are these judges going to be held accountable?
Well, I think that this case is going to be an occasion where hopefully they will be.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice.
So what do you guys think? What's in the near-term future for you? Is the ranch operational? Are you guys back at it? Or?
Well, first thing is the charges against the 4 of us have been dismissed with prejudice. But we still have others who are facing trial in the same case on the same charges. My other 2 brothers, Mel and Davey, as well as Jason Woods and Joseph O'Shaughnessy, they're supposed to go to trial here in just a couple more weeks.
And that's in Oregon?
No, right here.
Oh,
same
wow.
case, same charges.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so in other words, the entire matter is not over. Furthermore, those who were in the previous trials that were convicted or otherwise pled out, okay, their case was also tainted with all this misconduct that the government has participated in. Mm-hmm. And therefore those judgments are wrong, and they need to be overturned.
Can that happen?
Oh, absolutely it can. Okay, and quite frankly, to me it has to happen. And again, any judge acting in good behavior should just do it on their own accord. But I think the lawyers are going to have to, put forth a motion and so forth, and some action is going to have to take place there. But those judgments need to be overturned. Todd Engel was convicted, but the prosecutors used all these bad tactics and all these violations that we were just talking about against Todd to gain that conviction. And the jury could not have made a knowledgeable decision because of all the misinformation and the lies and folly. And so it's a bad judgment.
And Ryan, is it possible that any of these prosecutors or judges, will they face criminal charges for the flagrant violations of your rights?
Well, they should, but will they? Probably not.
How do you feel about that?
Well, they've got their own little club. They won't prosecute each other. So I don't know what to exactly say about that. A claim of harm ought to be brought against them. I don't know where that would go, but
maybe you're not done being a lawyer. Well, gentlemen, you've been really generous with your time. I appreciate it. I know you've been a little bit tied up as of late.
So busy 2 days.
Give you time with your families. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with before we wrap it up? Anything you'd like to say to our audience?
I would like to say thank you to America for your support. I thank our founding fathers for the Constitution of America. And I'd like to say thanks to all of those who have lost their lives in these wars and problems of America to defend our freedoms. And I want to thank them for sure.
Amen.
Ryan, anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I'm also thankful for all of those who have fought for freedom. And you know, our troops go out believing that they're fighting for freedom, and I think the people of America need to realize that our freedoms are not being lost overseas. They're being lost right here at home. They're being lost right here in these courtrooms. Okay, they're being lost right here. So realize where the true battle for freedom is. It's here, it's home.
Amazing. You guys are really inspirational, and I want to thank you for everything that you've done. I want to congratulate you on a historic victory, and I want to wish you the best.
Thank you for speaking
Happy
with
New
us.
Year, gentlemen. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks for watching, everybody. Wow, really great. Really
Is that
great.
live stream?
That was. Truly a pleasure to meet you both. Thank you so much, Ryan. You got to write a book or something. Cliven, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations on everything that's happened lately. Sorry about all that other crap.